Price gouging, a serious crime being committed by the petrol supply industry and the fuel supply industry on the forecourts, according to politicians in London a couple of days ago. Price gouging, in which they exploit the increase in the world oil prices as a way to increase prices on the forecourt, and it's evil, according to the government. What I'm going to do now is try and explain some of the basic common sense behind the reason why petrol and fuel prices have gone up now. So let me try and explain it a bit like this. Oil prices go up, and the price on your forecourt also goes up at the same time. Price gouging, according to politicians in London a couple of days ago. However, this is roughly what's actually going on. The price of petrol on your forecourt comes from the supply price which was bought a few weeks ago. Remember that there is a time interval, a gap, between the time the price of oil goes up and the time it reaches you in the forecourt. This, as it were, is the supply. The old supply is quite small, see, little one. And this is the price of oil as it is now. But remember, there's a gap. The time it takes, see, big gap, the time it takes the price of oil went up to reach you in the forecourt. The price of petrol that you're getting now has gone up because the industry is tracking the oil price on the market. It's not using the price it paid a few weeks ago. See, this is the little price. This is the price they paid a few weeks ago, down there, but it took time to go all the way around the Mediterranean into a port like Ellesmere Port, to a refinery, and then to your petrol station. It took all this time to reach you. So the politicians accuse the industry of price gouging because they're charging the, as it were, higher price on the petrol as if they were paying this, when actually they were paying this. But there's a reason, a simple, basic, economic, industry-wide, sensible, common sense that the politicians don't know about. And it goes a bit like this. And I'm sorry, I haven't got any fancy graphics for you today, so I'll just use fingers. Price of oil goes up, but it takes time to feed in. So at the moment, the price of petrol should really be somewhere down here because of the supply price. That's the supply they bought months ago, or weeks ago, or days ago. But that was at the low price. The politicians accuse the industry of exploiting the increase in price to charge higher prices. But what happens if they didn't? If they didn't, then they would be using the old, let's call it the supply price, and not the current market price. That's the supply that they bought months ago, or days ago, or weeks ago. So what happens? Well, eventually they catch up. So as time passes, there's time passing by, the supply price reaches the oil price as it is now. It's gone up, remember? So that means the petrol price goes up, but it takes weeks. This is the gap between the two time periods. You see, supply and delivery takes weeks. That means initially your petrol price, this is your petrol price or your fuel supply price, hasn't caught up with the oil supply on the market. It's using the previous supply price. So it's not actually gone up, and then it goes up and up and up. And then it reaches the market price. That's the current very high oil price. But now you've got a problem. Although it took time, so everyone's laughing because they saved money because the oil price went up, but their petrol price didn't. Ha ha ha. They're all laughing at the petrol pumps. I saved money, that's great. And the politicians are saying, that's wonderful. Prices didn't go up. Inflation hasn't gone up, and there are local elections due, so that might be another reason. But we won't go into politics. Here's the problem. If you do it on that basis, the supply of petrol is governed by the supply that you bought, then when the oil price goes down, eventually, after Donald Trump has won his war, the price of petrol stays up here. See, look, oil price has gone down, petrol price is up here, because it's based on the supply price they bought weeks ago. And as the supply comes down and down and down, it takes weeks for the petrol price to catch up with the oil supply price. That's this bit here. See, down here. I'm sorry, no fancy graphics today. Here's the problem. It's very difficult for the retail industry on the forecourts to sell a high price when the oil price has gone down, because they bought the very expensive oil when it was at a high price. Remember, it takes time here and here, from here to here, for the price to reach the forecourt. So what they do, instead of charging the high price while the oil price has gone down, and the oil price is in all the headlines, look, the oil price has gone down and down and down and down, it's down there now, but you're charging the high price. Why are you doing this? Oh, this is evil. Evil retailers, evil wholesalers, evil industry, big bad oil. But actually, they're paying for this. This is the high price that they paid for. But the price has gone down. So they won't get sales. It's good. It's bad market economics. It's bad business. But it's also very difficult to tell people the reason the price on the forecourt has gone high is because of the oil price they finally got delivered. This bit, which took time. See, there. It took time. It took maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, but the price has gone down. So what they do, instead of getting involved in long arguments, including price gouging, according to the politicians, is they track the price. Forget the supply price at this end, what they paid for. Look just at the oil price as it goes on the market. Now remember, there is still a time difference, and it could get longer and longer, because obviously no one's got enough warships to defend the tankers to go around the Straits of Hormuz, because the Royal Navy haven't got any warships left anymore. But that's a completely different issue. As the price of oil goes up, so the retail price goes up. In other words, they track the prices. And as it goes down, that's a lot easier to show the public and a lot easier to sell. Yes, it looks like price gouging is evil, but actually what they're doing is just tracking in advance. So effectively, the price goes up, so the price goes up. The price of oil goes up on the market, the price of petrol goes up. And when the price of oil goes down, so theoretically, should the price of your petrol go down? That's a lot simpler watching them track each other than it is to get involved in all this complicated, sugary mess that goes on around here. Because it's going to be a lot more difficult to tell people when the price of oil goes down, you're still paying high prices because you're working on the supply that you just bought, which was very expensive, even though the future supply is going to be very cheap. That's very difficult to sell to people. It's very difficult to explain all this. But it's a lot easier just to track the prices. And that's what the industry is doing. And when the British politicians last week, just a couple of days ago, complained about price gouging is evil, that's because they didn't understand this track. They were thinking more like this. The cheap supply oil should result in cheap petrol, but they didn't take account of the fact that in the end you'd end up paying higher prices later. And what the industry have done is just keep it very simple. And that is why the fuel supply industry is tracking the prices and keeping it simple. Although it looks like they are profiteering, when the price of oil finally comes down, so should the price at the forecourt. Although we all know there'll be a bit of profiteering here and there, but then again, that's why we have a free market in which there are lots of separate suppliers, some of whom will bring the price down, and that's the petrol station you go to. That is a simple interpretation of the recent argument regarding fuel prices in the market and why the industry is not price gouging. What they're doing is just tracking the numbers in the simplest way that they can, in a way that sells, because they don't want to be caught in a controversy when they have to charge high prices when oil is low. Keep it simple, just track the price. So that's my lesson in basic economics today. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for your time and patience. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.